I'm about 2 miles in to a 14-mile day, so just getting started. We already went up one little mountain. It was enough to make me sweat, but not terrible. Got a pretty nice view for the end of the video from there. In fact, a lot of today, I'm supposed to have 3 or 4 more because we're going to cross 3 balds. Luckily, you don't have to climb each of them. They're in fairly rapid rolling succession. So the views might not be all that different from each, but it'll be cool because normally whenever you see bald, it means it's going to be a steep hike. And this is indeed, I think the 4 miles today, we're going to go up 2,500 feet over 4 miles. So I don't think it's going to be terribly steep, but that's a long haul uphill. And then it'll be the balds, a view coming down off one of them, and then we'll stop at a shelter. Yesterday, the poet among us, who's I believe the eldest among us, walked the furthest and the fastest. I was quite proud of him. And one guy we left back in Irwin to resupply. We haven't heard hide nor hair of him, so he might be living it up. He kind of liked that hostel down there. And then another guy, I don't think he ate right. And so that detour was much more severe than expected. Even the super hikers were disappointed with how steep it was. So, and they had to take a break. I had to fix a trekking pole yesterday with Leukotape. It's basically duct tape with cloth backing. You use it on your feet and it stays on for like a week. I used the trekking poles to dig in going up those steep inclines, and the foam rubber finally became unsecured from the pole and was sliding, and so I couldn't use one of them. So I got out the Leukotape and fixed it up right as rain. It's working very well now, so I don't need a new one. I got to the shelter first, but I also didn't walk as far since I had done a little jaunt the day before to get down closer to the detour. And some young kids came up and they said, "Is Salt Lake here?" I said, "I'm Salt Lake." They said, "We heard that you can fix things." I said, "Okay." One of their trekking poles had gotten, it was like a compression fitting or something like that, or like a twist to fit. Anyways, it had gotten jammed whenever one of the girls fell. And so I was able to fix that up in a jiffy with my Leatherman. And some young men were following behind, and they said, "Well, we tried to." I said, "Yeah, just..." I showed them how to use pliers. And then one of the girls is going to med school, I think. And I said, "Well, you can also make a strap wrench next time that happens with a piece of nylon webbing and a tent stake." I told her it was like tying a tourniquet. She looked at me like I was crazy. So I showed her how to use the tent stake. Has a leveraged handle to tighten it up, and it's the same concept. You can take off oil filters with that. You can open jars of pickles with that. It works. She was like, "Oh, that's clever." So hopefully she'll be able to have that as an option if her poles go again. And then one of the guys we're hiking with, he came in late. He was beat. And he said, "Guys, my tent's broken. I don't have there's an aluminum part that goes between the carbon fiber rods." And we looked at it, and it looks like it's pressed down into the rod. And we didn't have a good non-semi-destructive way to get it out. And so one of the guys had a repair tube, and so it was too large for his rods, but we used some some moleskin on that one. and bulked it up just about perfectly to where he can fit it into his little tent stake bag, and it'll get us to town where we can get that sucker out. And so I sat around with the old guys and we started filing down like bushing pullers out of tent stakes. What else did we file down? Carved out some wood. I mean, just everything we could think of to get that aluminum piece out. Just seeing if it would work, because I guess we were bored in the evening, and that's what old guys do. And then I said, if that ever happens again, you could take the unused portion of a trekking pole, pop out one of the caps, cut it down about 2 inches, and you'd have another repair sleeve for a tent. Well, I looked around. And so it was kind of fun. We were just BSing about how to fix stuff. And for each problem, there were about 5 different solutions on how we could try to fix something. And the kids sat around listening. Like, man, y'all are smart. I said, no, I think we're experienced in desperation. I said, but that's also why you don't jack with old dudes. Because we'll just sit around and think about it until we figure out 15 ways to get back at you or to solve a problem. So, anyways, that was fun. Made for a pretty enjoyable night. I like that. I guess people can come looking for help, or if you have a name, starting to make a name for yourself of being able to fix stuff. So the poet said that he believes I just became a mobile outfitter. So we'll wait until I start having to stitch shoes together for people. So I'll keep walking. I'm not looking forward to this climb today, but my knees are swollen. Like that one doesn't like to bend any further than that. I'm afraid that if I do, it'll pop a ligament. I didn't take my leave today. So whenever I get down to a water source, if there's a water source, this is how slow I take stairs. Sideways and one at a time. If there's a water source, I'll sit down and take some medicine and see if that doesn't get some of that swelling to go down some. I wasn't so stubborn. I'd go to a doctor about it, but they're just going to tell me it's arthritis. So anyways, I'll check in later. I don't plan to video a lot of it from the views if they're good. Hopefully it stays clear all day today. So, check in later. I'm in a gap on the ridge. I don't want to admit how pathetically slow I'm going today. I had to sit down and eat some sugar and drink some caffeine and take some Aleve and do all that to keep myself going. I also felt like I was walking on a rock in my left shoe, poking into the ball of my feet. I got these shoes and they've been good, but their insoles have been terrible. And I pressed down and the rock plate is ending right where the balls of my feet are, and have been jabbing into them. This over here, actually it was right over there, but I can't see it. It used to be the side of a hotel. The rhododendrons around high is known for just now coming into bloom. So we're missing it by probably 5 days, I'm assuming. But I heard there's a bathroom over here. If there's a bathroom, there might be water. So I hear maybe a generator or cars running. So clearly there's a road that you can drive up here to. Yeah, right there. Whoop, whoop. So, a picnic area. Heck yeah, boys. There's everybody. We'll go join them. So I'm nearly at the highest point that I'm going to be at probably the entire time I'm on trail. I haven't looked, but it's definitely up there. Some rocks. And disappointingly, you can't see a view from up here. I'll see if it clears out up here on top of the hill. It's the highest point's up here by the old shelter. But you can see above all the other mountains out here because we're so high. And, you know, you can tell a difference between 3,000 feet in elevation, 2,000 feet in elevation, and 6,000 when you're out here hoofing it. And I mean, I've hiked at 8,000 and 10,000 feet. That's where you huff and puff. I won't run into that here, but the air is definitely thinner and you have to take a few deeper breaths every now and then. So this trail is much larger because there's a parking area. We all sat down, well, probably 6 of us, sat down and had a big old lunch and dried out. They had flush toilets and non-potable water, which we subsequently drank through our filters because it's probably the cleanest water you can get out here. It's just not been treated, so we didn't complain. But everybody took off, so I'll be the last one today getting into camp. I might have to walk in the dark. My back was giving me issues. My left knee is decently swollen. So I'll see if I'll have to lay up on that. It's just painful. It doesn't bend very well. But can't rest yet. Don't have anything for it but a leave. So we'll deal with it. It's still operating right now without pain. Too bad. Just when I bend it and tighten it up. That's a nice little spring. Be-doo. I'd drink from it if I had to. I'm about tired of going uphill though. It's been so much today. And it was a lot of stair climbing. Be-doo. There's more. I'm just exhausted. I still have like 6 miles to go. So I shouldn't complain too much. Because it's not going to help the fact that I got to keep going. Hopefully it levels out though. And we get off these stupid rocks at some point in time. Hopefully on the balds, right? So I'll check in if there are good views. I really want one from the top of here, but I don't know if we'll get it. There's a lot of people down here. Lots of extra people on the trail. These are rhododendrons that are blooming. All over there. So the sky's getting kind of milky. It's gonna be getting darker sooner. I have a ways to go to camp still, because today has not been kind, primarily because of yesterday. So, pretty down. That was what we came up and down. That's 6,200 feet. That was quite an elevation drop to get down. We came, I believe, from the top and then zigzagged down to right by the parking lot and then came up and around here. Nice view. I'll probably take one shot up at the top of the bald. We've got 2 more to cross, but I'm running low on battery and I'm running late to the shelter. I'm already going to be getting in at dark. So this is probably going to be one of the last shots of the day. Anyways, it was a rough day, but we're getting there. I'll get to the shelter at least today. My feet hurt. Alrighty. So story time with Trenton. Today, we were coming up Roan Mountain, and I was hiking with a guy named James. James feels like he's the slowest going uphill, and he may be, but he's consistent. And so he says, there's a mile left, you go on up ahead, I'm going to take my time. I say, okay. We get to the top of the mountain where that hotel was supposed to be. I venture over to the right. I see the crew. I have that on video. We were all sitting down having a good old time. Everybody else leaves out because everybody else goes over there except for James. We figure James didn't want to get distracted and he went on. So everybody else takes off and I'm taking my time because I'm hurting pretty bad. My back's hurting. I feel like I'm going to die. My foot's hurting because I need new insoles. My ankle's hurting. I have a blister under a blister on the back. Anyways, I've got plenty of complaints today. Today sucked. So I get all the way down to the shelter at about 8:30. I'm the last one pulling in. All the kids are there. Brian had just texted me and he said, oh, shit. Are you guys at the shelter? And I said, James isn't here? And he said, no, I don't see him. I said, well, I didn't pass him. So if he's not at the shelter and we didn't pass him on the way, that means that he didn't even make it to the top of the mountain. I'm worried about this. So we go looking for James just to make sure he hadn't set up a tent further down. Some guy said, I'm looking for a little bit of an older guy. He came through right before Brian got in and said he would just go on because y'all probably moved on to the next shelter. I said, oh, this does sound like James. But then I see another older guy coming back down the trail, and the gentleman who told us that, he says, is that him? That looks like him. It's not James. I said, shit. Sorry, I mean shoot. It's late. Sorry for the profanity. So I said, I'm going to have to go ahead and go on. Brian said, do you want me to go? And I thought, no, not really, because if I have to send somebody back, it ain't going to be me. I'll go get a shuttle and we'll go back to Roan Mountain up at top, and I'll walk backwards from there because James has an in-reach messenger. We had sent a message and James did not reply. So I've downed my coffee. I've eaten my cherry sours. I have energy. This is how I push on further. And I start almost running down the trail because I'm worried that one of us hasn't arrived, and I would hope they would do the same for me. So the next place, by the way, is 2 miles further. So on top of a hard 13-mile day, I'm having to push 15. So I get 14 miles into it. And James says, hey guys, sorry, just got your message. I was setting up. I'm at Yellow Gap Shelter. Well, so now I'm stuck. I could walk back to the other shelter. Uphill. Wasn't terrible. Or I could continue forward like I normally do and get to Yellow Gap. The problem either way is that the sun is setting and I in a place where I get none of that sunset last sunlight. So I'm going to have to walk a mile on this. Hope I don't kill myself because there is no good hammocking camping spot until I get there. It's all fairly steep. It's all way overgrown. And they don't like you to set up a hammock across the trail. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. This is miserable. But that's why you have hiking buddies. It's not so much that you hike with them throughout the day. It's just to make sure that you didn't die somewhere along the trail. So if I don't make it to Yellow Gap Shelter and you find my cell phone, just remember I was trying to do a nice thing. And that's how we get in trouble. So hopefully I don't get eaten by a bear. Anyways, that's that. Probably my last check-in. I don't even know if you can see the trail. It is dark out here. And there are bugs everywhere. So may tomorrow be an easier day for everyone.